Let's just dive right in. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are getting into a real college-level masterclass on human-AI interaction. And look, right out of the gate, I want to shatter a really common illusion for you. The idea that AI actually thinks. It doesn't. And because of that misconception, I'm going to show you how most of us are talking to large language models completely wrong. But more importantly, how we're going to fix it. We're going to master the PACE method for prompt engineering. We're taking your AI chats from casual guessing games and turning them into precision instruments for actual societal change.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover why prompt structure matters. Second, we'll unpack the PACE method framework itself. Third, we'll see PACE prompts in action. Fourth, how to evaluate those AI outputs. And finally, number 5, the ethics of prompt engineering. Let's get to it. Okay, part 1. Why prompt structure matters, and the illusion of AI thinking. You see, we have to start with a massive misconception about how these large language models, or LLMs, actually work. Because if you don't understand the machine you're driving, you literally cannot steer it. Our biggest blind spot, we constantly project humanity onto algorithms. We really do. But LLMs don't think like you and I do. They don't reason. At their core, they simply predict the next token, the next word, based on massive statistical patterns. Basically, it's really advanced autocomplete. And because it's purely predictive, your prompt isn't just a simple question. It is the entire context window for the machine. Every single word you type shapes exactly what the model is going to generate next. It absolutely boils down to that classic rule of computing: garbage in, garbage out. Vague problems are going to produce vague answers. If you just toss the AI a generic, unstructured prompt, you activate this incredibly wide distribution of possible completions. You're practically begging for an answer that's generic, completely off target, or worse, confidently wrong. Moving to part 2, the PACE method framework, which is essentially your new operating manual. To fix this whole garbage out disaster, we need a mandatory blueprint. We need a way to control what is, frankly, a probabilistic machine. And that brings us to the PACE method. PACE. It stands for problem, action, context, and expectations. These are the 4 absolutely crucial components you need for every single prompt you write from here on out. I mean it. If you skip even one of these, you are leaving your output up to a roll of the dice. So let's break them down. The P is for problem. This is where you tell the model exactly what challenge you're tackling. You can't just drop in and say, hey, tell me about poverty. That is way too broad. A strong problem statement pinpoints exactly what's wrong, the specific geography or population, and the severity, ideally using hard numbers. So instead of a vague topic, you'd say, a specific Atlanta census tract has a poverty rate of 38% compared to the national average. See the difference? Next up, A for action. Okay, it is officially time to retire those weak phrases like help me with or tell me about. Those aren't actions. They're basically just inviting the AI to guess what you want. Instead, explicitly command the model using strong cognitive verbs. Think Bloom's taxonomy: analyze, compare, evaluate, summarize, generate. You want to pick your verb deliberately so the AI knows the exact cognitive operation it needs to perform. Then we hit C, context. Ask yourself, what background does this model need to actually be right? Because without context, the AI just defaults to this imaginary, non-existent, average user. You have to give it guardrails, tell it who the audience is, specify the domain, like health or housing, give it local geography, historical factors like redlining, and any other constraints. And this is absolutely crucial. Context is where equity lives. If you explicitly name demographics, geography, race, income, and history in your prompt, you literally force the model to engage with equity. If you skip this, the AI will just spit out a colorblind, placeless answer that completely ignores the lived reality of the actual community you're trying to help. Finally, E for expectations. Think of this as your grading rubric. You are telling the AI exactly what the final product should look like before you ever hit enter. Do you need a 3-column table, a numbered list under 200 words, plain language written at an 8th grade reading level? And, most importantly, you must ask for verifiable data sources. Because if you don't define what a good response looks like, how are you going to evaluate if the AI actually did its job? Okay, part 3, PACE prompts in action. Let's take a look at the incredible transformation when you actually apply this blueprint to real-world scenarios. Just look at this contrast. A weak prompt asks, what causes unemployment? No location, no data, no action verb. Result? A totally generic guess. But the strong PACE prompt? It defines the problem, a Houston census tract with a 19% unemployment gap. It assigns an action, identify 3 structural drivers, gives context, a displaced oil sector workforce, and sets expectations, a bulleted list with policy implications. The jump in quality here is just staggering.
Same thing here with housing data. If you change a vague, "Hey, help me understand housing data," into a precise PACE prompt, it's night and day. We specify the problem, an inclusive growth score of 18 out of 100 on stability. We give context about median rent and income, and we expect plain language meant for a community board presentation. You literally transform the output from useless noise into a hyper-targeted, ready-to-use presentation. Which brings us to part 4, evaluating AI outputs. This is the critical check, because let's be totally clear, crafting and submitting that prompt, that's only half the work. You have to actively interrogate what the AI gives back to you every single time. Ask yourself these 5 questions. 1. Is it accurate against a primary source? 2. Is it complete based on what I asked? 3. Is it contextually right for my specific community? 4. Did it cite verifiable sources? And 5, this is a big one, is it biased or limited? You cannot assume the AI got the local specifics right. And why are we so paranoid about checking? Because LLMs hallucinate. They will confidently generate totally fabricated statistics or invent policies out of thin air, and they'll sound incredibly fluent doing it. It's not a glitch, folks. It's a feature of how probabilistic text works. This is exactly why demanding a verifiable data source in your expectations is a mandatory built-in check. If the model cannot cite a real, checkable source, you simply cannot trust the output. So, prompt engineering isn't this one-and-done magic trick. It's an iterative loop. You write your PACE prompt, you get the output, and you grill it with those 5 questions. Then, and this is the secret sauce, you figure out which of your 4 PACE components was the weakest, you tweak that specific part, and you resubmit. That revision loop is where the real, responsible AI work happens. Finally, part 5, ethics and prompt engineering. Because the stakes in the real world are massive. The communities we are prompting about are real people. Being a prompt engineer isn't just a technical skill. It carries some incredibly heavy ethical weight. We have to remember that these models have absorbed all the historical biases present in their massive training data sets. If you use a lazy, generic prompt, the AI defaults to the average user. And when you're doing equity work, designing for the average almost always erases the most vulnerable communities. You have to explicitly name those inequities to fight back against that baked-in bias. Because these outputs have real consequences. If you're using an AI to inform a local budget or a policy recommendation, a hallucinated fact is no longer just a funny computer glitch. It can actively misdirect critical, life-saving resources away from the people who desperately need them. The stakes are just too high to be careless. So you have to practice radical transparency. Be painfully honest about what the AI produced, what data you personally went and verified, and what you edited yourself. Passing off raw, unattributed AI output as your own deep analysis, it's not just dishonest, it actually prevents everyone else from checking the safety and accuracy of the work. All right, wrapping up this explainer, let's lock in the key takeaways. Think of structure as a catalyst that helps you think better, not a cage. All 4 PACE components, problem, action, context, and expectations, are totally non-negotiable. Evaluating the output is quite literally part of the job. And always remember, equity begins with context. The goal isn't just using AI, it's thinking better with AI as your precision tool. I'll leave you with this one final, pretty profound question to chew on before you open up another chat window. What is one ethical responsibility you now feel you have as someone who knows how to properly structure prompts? Think about it. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and happy prompting.